It's Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We are both coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective abodes. Be with you here for the next couple of hours, talking sports of local, regional, and national importance. Looking forward to doing so. Wade, how's your Thursday?
Man, Thursday is off and running. Good to be with you. Good to be with everybody. And looking forward to a big show as we get into the late part of June, but we got the weekend coming up just right around the bend here.
The weekend is coming up. Looking forward to the weekend. Again, looking forward to this next couple of hours as well. In the next hour, we will visit with Heather Williams, talking a little NASCAR, and kind of got a local angle to explore, as the Cup Series will be coming to Nashville Superspeedway this weekend, the Ally 400 on Sunday, and all of the festivities accompanying that. So, again, we'll be talking to Heather at 3:20 about all things NASCAR. Here in the next segment, we will visit with LIPSCOMB baseball coach Jeff FOREHAND, whose team carries a little extra distinction as of Monday night. We'll touch on that with him while we have him on Coach's Corner here in the next segment. But we'll also be talking a little Braves, a little Major League Baseball. There was a part of a draft last night, and I guess we'll talk a little bit about that because it continues. It'll start up right at the start of our second hour here. So little NBA talk coming later in the show, a little NCAA talk coming later in the show. Also, it's Throwback Thursday, and we will throw it back to our visit last week with CALHOUN of Off the Hook Sports as we discussed UT women's basketball and their activity in the transfer portal and what it means for Coach Kim Caldwell in her first season at the helm of that program. So we'll have that right at the top of the second hour as well. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Draft dominating some headlines, and they're getting it out of the way for another television event tonight. So they kind of get things kickstarted at 3, so that'll be done in plenty of time for whatever festivities you want to get into this weekend, or tonight rather. But I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, you mentioned our Throwback Thursday. You were getting a little feisty with our guest last week, talking about, the state of Tennessee and recruiting. So for those that missed it last week, a chance to revisit that.
And I didn't really mean to. I know I did. In retrospect, it wasn't my intent. But yeah, I did.
You didn't let him off the hook, which is worthy of was mentioning, right? You made a great point when you talk about recruiting in the state of Tennessee being so crucial, definitely for so long for women's basketball at that university. So I enjoyed the segment, and I'm looking forward to a big show today.
I like your phrasing there, not letting Off the Hook Sports CALHOUN off the hook.
That was unintended, partner. I don't get I get lucky every now and again, I guess.
There we go. We'll take it when it comes. Absolutely. But that's what we're looking at here for the next couple of hours. So let's go ahead and dive into it. The rundown isn't as long these days, but we do have yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Buckle up, boys and girls. Away we go on the Thursday rundown. Yesterday's scoreboard, we kick things off with Major League Baseball, where we can tell you that it was the Braves 6, the Cardinals 2. Astros picked up a 7-1 win versus the Colorado Rockies. Both of those games were earlier in the day, but there's more. There was a second game as the Braves had to settle for a split in terms of Wednesday's action, 4-1, the Cardinals winning that second game on the afternoon. In minor league baseball, another game that we mentioned a couple of times on the show yesterday. Wow, 12-11. The Sounds really outlasting the Jumbo Shrimp as they pick up a big win there. And Mo, you mentioned it, not a lengthy scoreboard from last night. That concludes Wednesday's scoreboard.
Yeah, that Sounds Jacksonville game was in 10 innings yesterday. So yeah, a lot of offensive damage done there by both teams. But yeah, short results, fairly short schedule. The Braves and the White Sox will get going at 3:10 from Chicago. You can see it on Bally Sports South. The Sounds will continue their series in Jacksonville against the Jumbo Shrimp. That's a 6:05 Central Time start down in North Florida. WNBA action. It is the Dallas Wings 94, the Minnesota Lynx, the Commissioner's Cup champion Minnesota Lynx 88 with less than a minute to play in that. Yeah.
Dallas was down like 15 in the first half. It did not look good for them earlier.
Well, it looks considerably better for them.
Yeah, I guess so, right?
Yeah. 6 o'clock on NBA TV, it's the Connecticut Sun at the Washington Mystics. Also at 6 on Amazon, it's the Las Vegas Aces at the Chicago Sky. And at 9 on Amazon, you can see the Indiana Fever and the Seattle Storm. So a big slate of WNBA action tonight. And that is your rundown. Top story brought to you as always by Piggly Wiggly over in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available until 6 o'clock daily. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And today is, in fact, Throwback Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday on this show was Wild and Wacky Wednesday, but for a couple of folks, it felt more like Walk It Back Wednesday. I wish we had Patsy Cline's I'm Sorry queued up because a couple of folks had to kind of check themselves from some comments that were made earlier this week. We will start with former Alabama quarterback Greg McElroy, who on a talk show Tuesday discussing the 2024 national champion Tennessee Volunteer baseball program, had some not so nice things to say about lightning rod Tony Vitello. Well, someone helped him come to some clarity on that situation, because yesterday he had some more subdued comments. Take a listen.
I want to start by just apologizing to Tony Vitello and the Tennessee Volunteers. What took a shot at him yesterday, and it wasn't necessary. My frustrations about where we're at society boiled over. It's unnecessary. Yesterday should have been a day of celebration of what Tennessee accomplished on the baseball field, as opposed to a streaming consciousness, basically diatribe about all the things that are bothering me right now in my personal life and all the things that are bothering me right now with where we're at in society. So apologize to Tony Vitello, apologize to Tennessee fans, to Tennessee baseball program, and know that I'm as happy for you for bringing it home last night or 2 nights ago as anybody that wears crimson and white in their college experience. So happy for that. And it wasn't the right place or time. So I want to make sure everybody understands that I'm very, very sorry. And I will celebrate with you moving forward, as opposed to being frustrated by little nitpicking moments that might have rubbed me the wrong way. So I really, really apologize. It wasn't right, and it won't happen again.
Interesting apology, but an apology. So, I mean, you got to start somewhere, I guess. And so kudos to Greg McElroy for recognizing the error of his ways and certainly the timing thereof. Obviously, again, Tony Vitello is quite the lightning rod, and there's not a lot of middle ground when it comes to him. And Greg kind of aired his grievances on Tuesday, and again, kind of walked them back yesterday. So good for him. Speaking of walking stuff back, we had Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 on yesterday to discuss Jim Schlossnagle and his move from Texas A&M to Texas and his comments following Monday night's loss to Tennessee in that national championship game. And, the way he kind of dressed down a reporter for asking him about his connection to Texas, only to accept the job within less than a day. And I don't know if someone helped Jim to this conclusion or if he came to it on his own. But again, walk it back Wednesday.
When the game ended, I want to publicly apologize to Richard Zane from TexAgs. He's a young reporter. He asked the question. That was an obvious question. I wish I could have answered that better. But in the moment, 30 minutes after the last pitch, all I could think about was our players. And I really wasn't in the mood to talk about myself or the future. So I apologize for that to Richard. When the game ended, I want to publicly apologize to Richard Zane.
So there's that, and when somebody acknowledges a wrongdoing, all you can do really is just kind of take them at their word. Again, don't know if somebody said, hey, you need to make this right, or if he said, I need to make this right, or exactly how that went down. But, he kind of extended the olive branch. I'd be interested to know how the TexAgs reporter responded to that or reacted to that. But, we were pretty hard on Jim yesterday. And so when I came across this clip yesterday evening, last night, while looking at some other stuff that Chris had kind of pointed out during our segment with him, I felt like, in light of the tack that we had taken with those comments from Monday night, that we needed to, kind of give Schlossnagle a chance to clear the air on these very same airwaves. So.
Yeah, me personally, I'm a little disappointed, Mo, because I was thinking, hey, just go full heel on this thing. Texas is already crippled Texas A&M. I mentioned Bo Schembechler and Woody Hayes yesterday. Just embrace it.
Just wear it, huh? There you go.
And so I'm a little disappointed. And Greg McElroy obviously is in a tough situation, right? Because we've talked about on this show, you don't want Vol Twitter coming after you. That is for sure. But at the same time, you don't want Roll Tide coming after you too. So he's kind of tried to weasel his way kind of into a nice little safe space. And Coach Slosh, though, I was really hoping he'd just lean into it and become the most vilified man in college baseball, which he still is in the running for, but it's not as prominent as it once was. It looks like
it's not. It may not be as prominent with the media after that anyway. But yeah, we've talked to Heather Williams, who we'll be visiting with later in the show, about NASCAR drivers, and sometimes you just got to put the black hat on. And Jim had really kind of sized himself up for said lid, and so I get where you're coming from. Yeah, just lean into it, just wear it. Embrace the heel. I like that. But
Texas A&M fans don't feel any better or feel any one way or the other than they did yesterday. So Who are you really apologizing to, I guess, right? Other than that one media member, which cool that he did it in a public forum. He certainly could have just reached out to him privately, I suppose.
Or not at all, like you said.
Or not at all. That is for sure.
Yeah.
That has been known to happen as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So so for sure. Yeah, that was I thought that was a relatively class act on Jim Schlossnagle's part, given what had taken place previously. So I just felt like since we had made that such a key portion of our conversation with Chris Lee when discussing his move from Texas A&M to Texas, that if that was out there, I felt kind of obligated to throw that in here today. And
you also wonder how much, if any, SEC office came to play. Hey, you're coming into our league. This is not necessarily how we do things or want to project that we do things. So get in front of that microphone and take care of business.
Yeah, let's get this taken care of. Let's get this right. Absolutely. So yeah, walk it back Wednesday. We'll have to be on the lookout for more of that type thing, and maybe just throw it in as a Wednesday topic on Wild and Wacky. Make it Wild and Wacky, walk it back Wednesday.
There'll be some of that later in the show with me and a certain NBA draft selection. So buckle up.
I don't know that you necessarily have anything to walk back, but we will certainly be talking about some portending that you did yesterday that unfortunately maybe played out in the first round. So yeah, looking forward to that discussion as well. But let's go ahead and take an early break here from the first segment of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, segment 2, we've got Coach's Corner. Jeff Forehand of Lipscomb University will be joining us. May not be right at the top of the segment, but he may have to kind of catch us in progress as we're rolling. So let's do that. Let's take a break from the Lee Company studios right here, and we will rejoin you here after this break.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
That's right, guitars and fast cars right here in Music City. This summer, NASCAR is back at the Nashville Super Speedway. Get your tickets now to watch your favorite driver take on the 1.33 miles of concrete chaos. Visit SuperSpeedway.com to lock in the 30th for the Ally 400 race weekend.
Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Later in the show, we will throw it back to a segment from last week where we visited with Off the Hook Sports, Calhoun, talking a little Lady Vols basketball. Lady Vols basketball. Right now, though, here on Coach's Corner, we are visiting with Lipscomb University baseball coach Jeff Forehand. And Jeff, good afternoon. Where are you?
I'm out in the bullpen.
Okay. All right.
We got some games going on our field, so I just slipped down here to talk to you guys for a minute.
Well, man, we appreciate you slipping away and coming to talk to us. Just wanted to check in with you. Monday night, obviously, Tennessee defeats Texas A&M 6-5, wins a national championship. finishes up the year 60-13. Your team was responsible for one of those 13. What's the significance of that?
You know, as everybody watched, however many millions of people that watched, I mean, everybody knows what kind of team that they have. And, you know, we probably caught them on a note where they had won, you know, they'd won 2 or 3 series in a row, I think, and we got them on Tuesday, and they probably underestimated it a little bit and played a little bit, probably a little bit down, and we played a little bit up. And, you know, end of the day, it came out that we, you know, we held on long enough. They scored early, and we matched it, and then, you know, it kind of got late, and they didn't get a big hit. But again, a big win for us because obviously everybody knows what kind of team that they have. So I'm, you know, it was a fun night, fun game, and a big victory for us.
Is it an extra feather in your cap that they go on and win the whole thing, or is that anything that y'all pay any attention to, or just how does that work? Did we lose Jeff?
Baseball might have knocked him out.
Oh goodness.
Let's hope not.
Yeah, let's hope
he was taking great measures to join us.
Yeah. There he is. He's back. Jeff, welcome back. I don't know if you heard me, but you know, is it any extra special thing for the Bisons to have picked up that victory over them once they did go on and win the whole thing?
How about now?
We're good. We can hear you. We can see you. Life is good.
He's getting situated for us.
Yeah, he is. And we appreciate it. Jeff, can you hear me? Can you hear us, Jeff?
Looks like he's trying to figure something out here.
Yeah, he's grinding on something there.
Mo, can you hear me?
We can. Yeah, can you hear us? He can't hear us.
We're close. Pop out, pop back in, perhaps.
Yeah. Lipscomb defeated Tennessee 9-6 on April 30th up at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Tennessee went 24-5 the rest of the way after that decision. Lipscomb, meanwhile, did a little damage of their own in the Atlantic Sun, and you know, I wouldn't say that it was necessarily a shock that the Bisons went up there and won midweek. I mean, you know, Wade, you've been around this game long enough to know how midweek baseball works. You never know what either team is throwing out there on the mound to start with, but you know, it's always kind of iffy along those lines.
Yeah, midweek baseball, and that's always what's so wild, right? Is even at the highest level, at the NCAA Division I level, you see results like this. Sometimes it's just flat out just not your night, or as Coach was kind of easing into with us there. You know, sometimes the team maybe takes the other for granted a little bit. Sometimes, you know, the other team is in Lipscomb in this case is going to give Tennessee their best shot, presumably. So every so often, you know, you'll see a result like this, and it kind of makes you scratch your head. But in the grand scheme of things, those midweek games, I'll be real curious. You know, Coach, obviously it's a fantastic win for Lipscomb.
You're right.
In the grand scheme of things, you know, you'd probably value a steadier weekend performance. But so it's kind of interesting when all that happens. You'll see top 25 upsets, and, you know, there's a big deal made, and every coach kind of has their own unique opinion on how they kind of value those upsets in that regard.
Sure. And when you're going on the road in that situation against a Power 4, Power 5 team like that, it's a little easier for you to get up, maybe, as Jeff was kind of saying. Maybe Tennessee was not on 10 for that ball game necessarily, and it kind of cost them a little bit. But like you said, I'm just kind of curious what the significance of that, especially again with Tennessee doing what they did the rest of the way, is for Lipscomb. And so let's see, do we have Jeff back, Mark?
I'm back.
Jeff, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got it.
Awesome.
Sorry about that.
Great. Oh, no, that's fine, man. We appreciate you staying with it. Hey, I was just trying to ask you, is that win more significant given what Tennessee went on and did the rest of the way?
I think anytime you can say you beat the national champion, I think it's a good win. And when we did it at the time, and everybody knew they had an opportunity to do that because, the last several years they've had, as you guys know, had great teams, and I think the team that probably didn't make it, that got upset, was probably as good or better than this one. But they put together some fabulous runs but for us to get that win, it was really significant for us. Good win.
Unfortunately, this season didn't necessarily go the way you guys would have liked for it to have gone. 1-2 in the ASUN tournament to close out the year. What's happening for y'all right now? I know everybody's watching the transfer portal, and there's a lot going on over there. How big is that for y'all?
It's big. I mean, we've been working on it ever since, and you guys know the state of where college baseball is right now. We're in a tough spot, and there's, with the amounts of dollars being thrown around and people moving from school to school, it's a difficult challenge. But nobody is we're not over here being the martyr about it. We're working as hard as everybody trying to get prepared for next year, because it doesn't get any easier. We got 3 against Kentucky, 3 against West Virginia, and 3 against Florida State, Tennessee, Louisville, and Vandy. So we'll be back in it again. So we'll be right back in the mix. But if you don't play that, you can't get yourself in a position to to put yourself in a good spot for the NCAA tournament. Be prepared for that. So we can't cry over it now. We got to rock and roll.
Who makes your schedule?
His name's Brian Rahman. I think he's trying to get me fired.
That's a pretty daunting gauntlet that you got lined up for 2025. But at the same time, though, Jeff, how does that pay off from a recruiting standpoint when you can tell your guys that this is who you're going to get to see on a regular basis?
Well, I think it's important, but I don't think it's as important as what the NIL deals are coming from. I mean, it's important that we're playing those teams and the players that we get are excited about doing that. But when you're not paying them like most of these guys that are in the portal that come out that are expecting a payoff, it's hard for us to land somebody that's really going to make a significant impact. But we've done our fair share of work with transfers and been fortunate in the junior college market, and these guys get in here and develop. So I think we're in good shape. We just got to keep pressing the pedal down and seeing where it's going to take us.
Yeah, and Coach, that was something I was going to ask you. So much of this discussion lately is NIL related, and kind of where do you guys fit in? And what I'm really curious about is you've kind of admitted in some regards, we're not at that upper tier as far as NIL money. So how does your recruiting strategy approach? Are you just really hoping and praying that guys that you have scouted and done your due diligence on, that they pay off, or has your process changed at all in the last couple of years? And if so, how?
A little bit of all that. I mean, it's, we recruit some guys and then they end up going to a Power 5. And then if it doesn't work out there, and sometimes we get them on a bounce back. And, our team in the last couple of years has been old. We've been older and gotten a lot of junior college players, some guys who went to the Power 5 and then back to junior college and then to us. And we've been really fortunate with that. But as you guys know, that the day and age of college baseball it's older. The player is older and more experienced with with just the at bats and the innings pitched and everything that they get coming in. Sometimes it's really hard for a freshman to jump right in and be able to play at this level. And you see some of the guys that those that have played for played in the World Series. There's some freshmen that are in there, but the freshmen that we get, it's time to develop. But unfortunately, if they don't develop quick enough and they don't play as much as they want to play for us, then they're ready to move on to have a chance to play at a lower level or have a chance to play. Or if they play too good, then they want to move on to the Power 5 and get another opportunity there. But, we found a happy medium, and we found some guys that really want to be here. And I think that Lipscomb is a really good place when people get here and recognize, the teams that we're playing, the conference we're in. And I think once guys get here, they recognize that, this is a legitimate place. And, we didn't get to the level we did in 23, but, I think we're fighting for that every year, and hopefully we can continue on with it.
Yeah, and Coach, that's what I was going to ask you too. Obviously, this year maybe in terms of win-loss records, a step back, so to speak. But you guys have been trending up for quite a number of years and had some really great runs even into the postseason. And I'm curious, when you have kind of a stub your toe type year, so to speak, does it really take a lot of extra effort for you to maybe try and get back in that right direction, or do you just kind of just chalk it up to, hey, it was kind of just a one-off bad year and we know what we need to do to go forward now?
I think we started off and we lost 8 in a row, 3 at Alabama, 3 at Kentucky, and 2 at Louisville. We lost 8 in a row, and we were in some of those games and got beat. But I think it seasoned us as we got into conference play. We won 7 conference series in a row. So you look at the positives that came from that, and with where we were and what we did, man, we put ourselves in a good spot, going into the tournament. And and once you get into the tournament, anybody can win it. And unfortunately, we didn't play as well as we needed to in the tournament to get to that spot. But after back-to-back championships and then making one regional, in college baseball now at our level, it's difficult to sustain that, man. And we're really trying to work towards sustaining it every year, because I think that's the precedent that we set to put ourselves in a spot to play in the NCAA tournament every year. And if we don't do that, then we're not fighting for our goals. And at the point where we are now, I think we're just trying to maintain that consistency, getting that player that matches our school and matches what we're trying to do here. And if we can keep doing that, I think we'll be in good shape for years to come.
Jeff Forehand, Lipscomb University baseball coach, joining us here on Coach's Corner on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Jeff, have we kind of gotten through, all of the NCAA adjustments to the pandemic and that kind of thing in terms of eligibility and that kind of thing? Or are we kind of getting back to normal in terms of roster construction, or are there still kind of remnants of all of the eligibility adjustments that were made during that time?
Each year we get further and further from that. I think we're at the end of it now. We still have, there's still some waivers that come through that allows guys to play a 6th and 7th year, for whatever reason that was going on back in those days. But it's about to play itself out. And once that does, I think we'll get back to some normalcy in that, if you want to call that part normal. But now we're into the, the NIL and all the things that go in with that, and the dollars that are being brought in for, for X, Y, and Z. But I think it's normal in the phase of we're through that. We're through guys. Hopefully we're going to be through with guys playing for their 6th, 7th, and 8th years. And then we're moving on now to how I just don't know if we're going to be able to sustain, the amount of dollars that the NIL is bringing to some of these teams, and don't know the answer. But I'm anticipating some change in the NCAA as far as that goes in the years to come.
Yeah, we were talking to Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 about that yesterday. Just all of the dynamics that are coming to bear on college baseball in particular right now. And as you said, particularly as a quote mid-major, I guess you're kind of feeling it on both ends, because like you said, your freshmen that aren't getting on the field are looking for other places to go, and your guys that are playing at an all A-Sun level are looking to try to up their value. And so it's a tough spot for you and your counterparts to be in, I guess.
Yeah, it is a tough situation, because now if you play too good for us, then you got an opportunity to and I can't Mo, I can't say it's a bad deal. I mean, what are you going to tell your son if you play really well, you got a chance to play at the highest level, and you're going to get paid $150,000 to go play with free school and free living expense? What are you going to tell them? I mean, you can't sit there and say that that's a bad deal. That's not a bad deal when you look at it, and opportunity for that. And I just try to think that the loyalty is it's really not that anymore. And you have the opportunity to have a great you have that great opportunity to do that, and it's just unfortunate that's how the rules are now. And heck, back years ago, we had 3 guys in the Cape, back in 16, I think, and I don't think any of them would have been able to come back. They all would have been paid $100,000+ to go to a Power 5 and have that opportunity. And they loved it here, and their careers were really good, and they had long careers in professional baseball. But heck, I like to think I saw Rex Brothers the other day. I told him that if he were here now, I mean, he'd be making money, more money than he could ever think about making as a 20-year-old. So that's just kind of where it is. But like I said, nobody's crying over it. That's just the rules, and the game's going to go on. We're still going to open up with Kentucky, and they're still going to be a really good team. So we better be ready to rock.
Hey, Coach, real quickly before we get you out of here, I got to give a special hello from close family friend and one of your old staff members, Mr. Ryan Price. Wanted me to make sure and tell you hello.
What's he into?
Yeah, that's a great question, and good family friend. We went to high school together, and we don't have time or FCC laws, I don't think, will allow you to tell any real stories. But he wanted to make sure that we told you hello on air today. So,
well, he's one of the good ones, man. I know he's been working a lot out of town, and I think he's in for 10 or so days and out for 20. He got a little bit better job as far as the financial side goes than us poor ball coaches. But he had to move on and to do something else. But man, what a good man. Tell him I said hello.
I will. Did he play for you as well, or
no, man? I'm not that old.
Coach alongside. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if the timeline matched up, Coach. That's my bad. That's my bad.
I came in, and he transferred out, and probably because Caleb Joseph was the other catcher. So I don't know if he was going to beat Caleb Joseph out. Maybe he would have. Who knows? But he left the year I came in, and then we were fortunate to get him back to help us for several years.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I'll tell him hello for you.
All right, brother.
Jeff Forehand, the Lipscomb University baseball coach, joining us here on Coach's Corner on Main Street Sports today. Always a pleasure when we can get you on, Jeff, and we will let you get back to supervising things over there at Dugan Field, but appreciate you working extra hard to maintain that connection with us here on the show today, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Mo, you're the man. Thank you guys for having me on, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. Hey, when we continue after this break from the Lee Company Studios on Main Street Sports today, we will talk a little Major League Baseball. So stay with us after this break.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
June 27th, 1982, Atlanta turned 7 double plays, tying a Major League Baseball single game record, and needed all of them to stay close enough to defeat host Cincinnati 2-0 in 14 innings. Twin killings ended each of the Reds' first 4 at-bats as well as the 11th inning, while the Braves scored on RBI singles by Chris Chambliss and Bob Horner before Al Raboski, the Mad Hungarian, worked around a 2-out walk to preserve the victory. That was this day in Braves history. And it's kind of ironic that Al Raboski picked up the save in our TDIBH game the day after the Braves and the Cardinals, the 2 teams that he played for, split a double dip last night at Busch Stadium. Atlanta winning the opener 6-2, the Cardinals winning 4-1 as the Braves kind of backslid into their no offense ways in the nightcap. So, what did they win? They got 1 out of 3 in St. Louis, and they play at 3:10 against the White Sox in a single game, kind of definitely a makeup from back in April when they had that bad weather up in Chicago. So the White Sox have been good for what ailed other people. Hopefully they will be for the Braves as well. We'll see.
Yeah, slide in there, get a nice dub. I'm curious too. We could ask Coach about this. It wasn't relevant at the time, but the fact, Mo, I'm curious. You have that rain out. What does that do for the routine for these guys? It's such a routine-driven sport. Does it throw it off at all, you think, or not?
I think it probably throws it off temporarily, but at the same time, I think those guys over 162 games, like you said, they do kind of have a routine that they like to get into, but I think they are also resilient enough that they can kind of roll with the punches as far as that goes. This is tough. I think this is a tough situation for Atlanta just from the standpoint that, obviously originally today was supposed to be an off day before they came back home for a 9-game homestand against Pittsburgh to start this weekend. And so instead they are playing a few games in a row. I think that's the bigger issue, more so than maybe any routine. But they were off last Thursday, and they'll be off Monday. But they've got a 9-game homestand. They've got 3 against Pittsburgh. They're off Monday. Then they've got 3 against San Francisco and 3 against Philly. And then they go on the road for 7 at Arizona and San Diego. So they've got the one off day here in about a month, basically. That's this coming Monday. So it's they are entering a pretty solid stretch from last Friday to July 14th. They will have played on every day but one. So I'll let y'all do that math, because as I look at this calendar, it's a little daunting to me. 2, 7, that's 9, that's 14, 21, 20. They're going to play like 22 games in 23 days.
Buckle up.
Yeah. And one of the good things that they've been doing is they've been trying to get, Chris Sale and Ronaldo Lopez and Max Fried, those front three starters, been trying to get them an extra day off when they could. And I wonder if that was somewhat in anticipation of this stretch right here, because it's definitely going to be all hands on deck. Bryce Elder came up and made the start in game 2 of yesterday's doubleheader and took that loss, unfortunately, but probably pitched better than the results indicate. But they are taking pains to try to, stretch some guys' downtime out in terms of this starting rotation, just trying to maximize their availability down the stretch, I'm sure. And as you look at the standings, they are still 8 games back of Philadelphia right now. If they're going to make a push at the Phillies, they're going to need, Sale, Fried, and Lopez to continue to put in the work that they have to this point. So we'll see how that goes. Again, the Braves and the White Sox, 3:10 start time today. It is Chris Sale going for the Braves, and Chad Kuhl, no record, 6.75 ERA, getting the start for the White Sox in that one. So
hey, I was just thinking, Mo, you might have seen the meme, and then I discovered this too. You can't be too upset with losing to the Cardinals. That Nellyville, the album, was released 2 days ago in the year 2002. So it was like the 22-year reunion. But then I just also learned that today his original album, Country Grammar, was released in 2000. So, I mean, St. Louis is kind of just maybe riding a little extra juice than you might have initially thought. So maybe we don't read too much into the Braves' performance, because they were kind of running into a stacked deck maybe there.
Yep. And the only thing that would have stacked that more would have been if they had worn their City Connect uniforms, their jerseys that are the Lou.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm from the Lou and I'm proud. Yeah.
If they would have busted that out, I mean, it would have been.
Yeah, you could have just canceled Christmas right there. That was it.
So yeah, I'm not putting too much stock into that. I say the Braves bounce back versus the White Sox, and especially if Crochet is not pitching, you got a pretty good shot. And you mentioned the ERA for Kuhl there. I like your chances today.
I would hope so. Maybe the offense comes back. Speaking of offense, Astros 7, Rockies 1. We talked a little bit about this one yesterday. With that win, Houston gets to the 500 mark for the first time this season. They are 40-40, virtually midway through the season.
Right there in the middle. They got off to a very slow start, and I was thinking, maybe they went like 2-2, but yeah, they lost a couple to the Yankees right at the start of the year, and have somehow, some way clawed their way back into a little sense of normalcy, although they've spoiler alerts, nothing gold can stay, Pony Boy, right? Because they got some injury news yet again yesterday.
Yet again, pitcher JP France is out for the year. He's going to be undergoing shoulder surgery. Yeah, this is why we can't have nice things, right? Astros on a 7-game win streak. Seattle at the same time has struggled a little bit, so we're saying there's a chance for the Astros. Who's next for y'all? Y'all got the Mets going to Citi Field this weekend.
One of the hottest teams in baseball.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in just a second. But yeah, JP France having shoulder surgery. He's done for the season. Again, just add him to the list. Christian Javier, Jose Urquidy, Verlander has been in and out. Luis Garcia, Lance McCullers Jr. trying to get back. it's kind of been Hunter Brown and Spencer Arrighetti and hope for the Astros. And we've talked ad nauseum about injuries and particularly pitching injuries across Major League Baseball, but the Astros would kind of like for that to go somewhere else at this point, I think.
Yeah, they've done enough stints on the IL. Let's spread that around a little bit. They're just kind of they're put together by duct tape and bubble gum right now, but it's kind of still just hanging in the mix. And you're right, Seattle's kind of been floundering a little bit. So here they sit at 500, 4.5 back in the division, and we'll see what happens from here.
4.5 back, 3 up on the Rangers.
Yeah, Rangers not playing.
And I think that might be the bigger deal at this point. I mean, you're firmly in second place at this moment, halfway through the season at 40-40. So, Thomas Harding told you, remain calm, all is well. And they've ripped off 7 straight going into today's off day before they head up to New York. So, got a shot. The Mets, meanwhile, as you said, one of the hottest teams in baseball right now, swept the Subway Series, the 2-game Subway Series from the Yankees, down in the Yankees 12-2 yesterday. They are now 15-4 over their last 19 games, the Mets are. Meanwhile, the Yankees have dropped 8 of their last 10 and have lost 4 straight series. It's always what you want when you're the best team in baseball, supposedly.
Yeah, the only good thing for them is the Orioles have been struggling at the same time. So they haven't gained any ground, but they hadn't lost a ton. But yeah, they are struggling right now, to say the least.
Yeah. So you guys kind of got your work cut out for you heading into this weekend with the Mets. But again, been playing pretty well. Maybe you can continue to ride that. Former Nashville Sound Andrew Monasterio walked off the aforementioned Rangers last night. Milwaukee 6, Texas 5 in 10 innings up at American Family Field. Monasterio with a single in the 10th to win that one. Earlier in the game, the Brewers got a grand slam from Jake Bowers and an inside the park homer from Jackson Shurio. So the power stroke getting it done for the Brewers as they continue to lead the NL Central. 15 games over 500 at 48-33 with that victory are the Brewers. 6 up on St. Louis, 8.5 up on Pittsburgh, and the second best record in the National League? No, third best. Philadelphia's got 53 wins. The Dodgers have 51, and then Milwaukee's got 48. And again, Wade, it goes back to our conversation back at the onset of the season when we just could not figure out what Milwaukee was doing. Milwaukee said, "You don't have to know what we're doing."
Nope. No need to divulge our secrets. Yeah, Fangraphs has them at they're almost a 75% chance to win the division, and we're not even to July yet. Cardinals the only team that's really maybe got a shot, it looks like, unless Skeens goes out and pitches every day for the Pirates. So the Cubs are kind of the head scratcher in that division. They've had such a weird up and down last couple of seasons. And when they've been clicking, we saw them go deep into the final few regular season games last year.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't look like they're in the mix. And it looks like the Brewers may end up peeling away from that division by the time this thing really gets clicking into August.
Yeah. Pittsburgh, 2 games under 500. And like you said, unless Skeens throws every day or every other day, and I don't think that's going to happen, they're kind of fighting uphill a little bit. Wade, I don't know if you saw it or not, but Shohei Ohtani, well, let's just say this.
He's lucky to be alive.
Shohei Ohtani is lucky to be alive, and Bat Boys need a raise because yesterday's game against the White Sox, apparently Kike Hernandez fouled a ball into the Dodgers dugout that had Shohei's face written all over it until this. I believe Mr. Ohtani's life flashed before his eyes right there. I think that bat boy saved him some facial surgery at the very least. Man, that came in there hot too. You see that from time to time. Foul balls into the dugout right there. Got to keep your head on a swivel. But like I said, that bat boy, I'd be interested to know what tips he got last night.
Yeah. You know he was taken care of. Producer Mark says, who needs gloves? Because, man, barehanding that sucker, catching it, looking cool, calm, collected, and then just casually with almost
and then the finger roll. Like, exactly, the finger roll. Here, this is for you.
That was epic, man. And, Ohtani probably saying, all right, I got a couple nice steak dinners heading your way, partner.
Shohei probably got the bat boy to autograph that one for him. I mean, that was pretty big time grab right there. So, and with the Dodgers and their injury woes right now.
Yeah, could you imagine? Add that to the list.
Yeah.
By the flukiest of situations.
A foul ball into the dugout knocks out arguably the best player in baseball. As this CBS Sports article says, luckily for LA, the bat boy posted up by the dugout had some cat-like reflexes, reached up and snagged the foul ball with a barehanded grab to keep Ohtani from needing extensive dental work.
Golly.
Yeah. So, that's going to do it for hour number 1 here on Throwback Thursday of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios, it is Throwback Thursday. We will be throwing it back to Caleb Calhoun of Off the Hook Sports. So come back after the break.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
I'm Maurice Patton, that's Wade Neely, and this is hour number 2 of Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Dallas did hang on, Wade, and down the Minnesota Lynx 94-88 in that matinee game today in Dallas. So big win for the Wings, who have not had a lot of them, big or otherwise. I guess they're all big when you're like 5-13. So yeah,
they were getting clobbered early and made a late run, got it close at half, and then picked up the win. You're right; they're all big when you don't get that many of them.
Absolutely. But this one over the Commissioner's Cup champions and the team that is second in the WNBA standings right now. So maybe this will be the start of something good for Dallas. They could certainly use it. In our next segment, we will be visiting with Heather Williams, talking a little NASCAR as NASCAR comes to Nashville this weekend. Looking forward to that. Right now, though, it is Throwback Thursday. We are throwing it back to a recent segment that we had where we visited with CALAB Calhoun of Off the Hook Sports, talking a little UT women's basketball and their activity in the transfer portal, among other things. So check it out. We're going to Knoxville, checking in with CALAB Calhoun of Off the Hook Sports, talking a little Tennessee women's basketball, because under new coach Kim Caldwell, the Lady Vols have been active in the transfer portal, and they got yet another pickup yesterday. Caleb, good afternoon, first of all.
Good afternoon. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well, man. Tennessee's up, and life is good on this hump day. But tell us about the latest acquisition for the Lady Vols and just how important this influx out of the transfer portal is for new coach Kim Caldwell.
You know, I got to be honest, it's actually a little curious, because the person that you added, for those who are curious, her name is Rapulucci Ayodel from Madrid. She comes from Pitt. She played 2 years in junior college, and she's from Madrid, Spain. She only averaged about 4.5 points last year, but she did average over 6 rebounds. She's clearly in a little, just under 18 minutes. She's 6'1", a junior, very aggressive under the basket, you know, a defensive rebounding specialist. She follows the additions of a 6'2" forward in Alyssa Latham, a 6'4" forward in Lazaria Spearman, and a 5'11" guard in Ruby Whitehorn, and then a 5'7" slasher in Samara Spencer. Now, one of the things all 5 of these players have in common, from guard to the center, they're all wildly athletic. And we know Kim Caldwell wants to run up tempo. She wants to press. She wants to have that exciting style of play. A significant part of that exciting style of play, though, is the ability to shoot the three. Marshall was the best three-point shooting team in women's basketball last year. And guys, I don't know if y'all know this, none of these players can shoot to save their life if you look at their numbers. So this is, I gave the analysis today, and I don't know if anybody, I don't know how many of our listeners called it, funny enough, but, and many of them probably did, but do you guys remember those Mark Gottfried Alabama teams that were wildly athletic but completely out of control in the mid-2000s sometimes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With Damari Carroll and those people. I feel like she's building that type of team this year, and I get it, she's having to settle because she couldn't get the talent she wants in her first year, but it seems like this Tennessee team is just going to be insanely athletic and turn the tempo up and have a ton of chaos, but it won't be the controlled chaos that she really wants to have at first.
Now, and maybe that's the key phrase right there, is at first. Do you raise the level of athleticism early and then kind of refine things from there? Hopefully.
That's what I think. that's what I think her goal is. They have a couple of shooters that are returning to the team that aren't athletic, so that was always the concern that they wouldn't fit with what Kim Caldwell's trying to run. But I think she's kind of actually going a little bit of the Bruce Pearl model when Pearl was first at Tennessee in 2005, 2006, because for the people who don't remember, Chris Lofton wasn't that athletic. He didn't really seem built to run that full court press tempo system with the flex offense, the Tom Davis style that Bruce Pearl ran. But what that did do was it created so many open looks for him. And a lot of players that may or and on the other side, to be fair to Kim Caldwell on this, a lot of these players who may not have been good three-point shooters may look a lot better next year, because if you turn up the tempo like this, you're going to get a lot more open looks. So I think that's what she's banking on. And if she can make a splash early, you know, maybe get to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament, which I know is a lofty goal, but Danny White made it clear he doesn't want to drop off. He expects a improvement immediately. If they can do that, maybe that splash will be enough for her to then, yes, be able to go and recruit top-notch elite talent the next year. Because the thing about women's basketball is, yes, there's a lot of elite coaching, but more than probably men's basketball or football at this point, I mean, going all the way, it still comes down to recruiting at the end of the day. And I mean, Dawn Staley, Gina Oriema, they just had a monopoly. And Pat, you know, it still is the, if you land an Aaliyah Boston, or if you land an Aja Wilson, or if you land a Candace Parker, or Maya Moore, you're going to win the next couple of national titles, and that's just how it goes.
Ain't a whole lot of them out there, but yeah, your point is made. You know, basically, Caleb, it looks as if she's, I don't know that this is by design necessarily, but it feels like, you know, she's kind of brought in a starting lineup. Now, I don't know if that's the way it will work out. Who are some of the top returners that you feel like things are going to be, I don't know, built around, or who are the top returners in line to contribute this year in Kim Caldwell's first season?
Well, it was key for them when Jewel Spear decided to come back with Kim Caldwell. I think that was a big, big benefit for them, because she's very well equipped to run this offense in a really, really effective way. I think probably the most effective shooter on the team that she's going to try to build her shooting around will be Sarah Puckett. Sarah Puckett was 35% from three last year. She hit about 38 threes. I think when it's funny, I mentioned Chris Lofton. That's kind of a model you can maybe go with, where she's not the most athletic, but if the other players around her can turn up the tempo, she should be able to benefit somewhat and have a lot of good looks. I think Destiny Wells, who only played 10 games last year, I think they're going to try to have her back to, I think they're going to hope she can make a bit of an impact. And Kaya Wynn played every game last year, but just wasn't that effective of a scorer. And they're expecting her to, I think, do a lot more this year. So there are players on this team coming back. Oh, and I forgot Tess Darby. Tess Darby is a major addition, a major returnee. And she's another one who I think could be, if things break right, a very effective three-point shooter. She was about 32% last year. But again, if you turn up the tempo, if you have the size and athleticism, you can create some open looks. The problem with her, it's kind of the opposite of her Marshall team, which is when she had a very small team that could shoot very well from the outside, but that just got exposed very fast in the NCAA tournament. It was very much like, on a smaller scale, what happened to Iowa in the national title game, where Iowa was loaded with shooters, Caitlin Clark obviously, but just couldn't win under the basket. This time she's going with size and athleticism, but it seems like she's sacrificing the shooting. But there are a couple of shooters on the team in Darby and Sarah Puckett. It's just questionable how this is going to translate to the SEC level. And just got to give him a shout out, our guy John Adams, who asked Kim Caldwell the question, how do you think this can translate to the SEC level? And Kim Caldwell says, I wouldn't be here if I didn't think it could. And everybody was like, oh, viral moment, John Adams gets owned. I'm like, well, the way she's building her roster suggests that she is having to adjust on how she builds for the SEC level.
Yeah, and that's what I'm curious, and we'll be fascinated to see, Caleb, as the season kind of gets going, is how much of a surprise, kind of an element of surprise factor it feels like you're kind of almost portraying here, that Tennessee is changing some recruiting tactics, cranking up the pressure, new coaching staff. is that enough to get them off to a fast start? And then, as we've seen with any other team, once you get off to a fast start, you kind of can just rely on that momentum to carry you. Is Tennessee trying to maybe catch as much as they can some folks by surprise in your mind by doing this in terms of recruiting and kind of tempo strategy?
Yeah, I think that's the plan for them this year, is to hope that they can potentially with this level of athleticism catch teams off guard, because again, the standard is still right now in the SEC, as we all know, South Carolina, and they play a very standard Pat Summitt style of basketball, honestly, with their half court game and their inside out and their defensive rebounding. And LSU is more athletic. LSU does have a lot of does play a lot of decent perimeter defense, but they're not that much different. But I think Tennessee's goal is to be very effective where you're in the grind of an SEC schedule and you're having to prepare for these type of teams that are very effective in their half court inside out sets with their defense and rebounding. And then you got to prepare for this Tennessee team on a Wednesday night or a Thursday night in the middle of the season. And it just ups the tempo and just changes everything. I go back to, I say that's exactly what benefited Bruce Pearl when he first took over at Tennessee. Was everybody was in the grind of, it was still very much a half court game at that time. And here comes Bruce Pearl, just control chaos and catches everybody off guard. Josh Heupel somewhat doing that in the SEC right now in football for Tennessee. And I think that is what Tennessee is going to try to do in women's basketball. And honestly, that's what Danny White is hired for. If you really look at Danny White's hiring, he's a marketer as much as he is, I'm trying to hire to win, because he keeps hiring coaches that bring in just a fun brand of what they play. And that's not just at Tennessee with Josh Heupel and Kim Caldwell, who turned up the tempo. I mean, he brought in Nate Oates when he was at Buffalo. He hired Heupel and Scott Frost at UCF. Danny White just loves tempo. He loves offense and tempo and scoring, and he kind of knows that sells tickets. And as an athletic director, part of his job is to sell tickets.
Keep the energy drinks fully stocked in Knoxville, because they kind of on go at all times. And I love that kind of fascination there, or that point that you made. Tennessee, it sounds like the picture that you're painting, not a team you really want to catch like on a back-to-back or kind of like you said, a midweek game, because after you go through a tough slog of your schedule, that's a team that is going to potentially just really throw a totally unique style on you, it seems like, this season. What happens if that doesn't work, though, in the first couple of weeks of the season or as we get into SEC play in your mind? Do they try and change on the fly? Or I know we're talking, months down the road, but I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
I don't think Kim Caldwell will try to change on the fly. I think she was hired to do that. I think where the pressure is going to come in, and I will say this, I think we all have great respect for the Lady Vol program and what it did for the sport of women's basketball and Pat Summitt. And I mean, there is no women's basketball at the level it's at without what the Lady Vols were building in the 70s and the 80s, when Pat Summitt was having to wash the jerseys of the team herself. I think there is also, and this really proved costly with the Kelly Harper hire, there is a contingency of older Lady Vol fans that insist you have to do it this way. You're supposed to do it this way. You're supposed to do it the Pat Summitt way, which is you're supposed to do it with defense, rebounding, half-court sets, slow it down basketball, toughness, all of those things. And this up-tempo style is just not – it doesn't honor the legacy that they want Pat Summitt to have. And that contingency will really start to creep into Kim Caldwell's ears if things don't start off fast. And it's key for her to tune that out, because honestly, again, Tennessee sticking to that style and not adjusting to women's basketball becoming more of a guard-oriented game is a huge part of why the program has not been able to keep up over the past 10, 12 years. We know the tragedy of Pat Summitt. That was obviously, that's the glaring reason of what happened. But I think Holly Warlick and Kelly Harper were so rigidly stuck to a style that was just outdated. I mean, Kelly Harper's team this past year, there were maybe 4 players that I thought could really run in a up-tempo style of basketball. I don't think very few were athletic enough to do that this past year.
Caleb Calhoun from Off the Hook Sports joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, and bringing us some very interesting insight on the Lady Vols under newly named head coach Kim Caldwell. Obviously, Caleb, with 5 players coming out of the transfer portal, all of them coming from Power 5 and a lot of them coming from ACC programs. The transfer portal is a very vital part of what Kim Caldwell is trying to do. What indications are you getting of her recruiting intents at the high school level?
Well, we haven't really gotten much on that yet, to be fair. I think that Kim Caldwell isn't as focused on that in the moment. And I think the biggest reason for that is because of what she said, and what Danny White said, which is that they want to win next year. They kind of made that clear in the press conference that they're not trying to have any sort of drop off whatsoever, which really kind of, I mean, that was alarming to me. Tennessee has one commitment right now, Kanaya Boyd. They for 2024, she is a 4-star. And that's one elite commitment that they have. But yeah, the main focus for Kim Caldwell has been to try to go the transfer portal route, because it's a very almost Dion-esque move, to be fair, because I think, and by the way, I haven't seen a lot of coaches do this. I mean, she said after they added, it wasn't after they added the most recent transfer, but after they added Samara Spencer, she came out and said, we're not done. We need to add a couple more players. And I thought, wow. So what you're basically saying is, if you go into, you basically acknowledge that if you are unlucky and you don't land a couple more transfers, you're saying to this team, they're not good enough to win next year. So she's going all in with that. I think that, I think where her mind is at is this. Because of the monopoly on recruiting, and that you got to get the 2 or 3 top 10 players in women's basketball to really compete for national championships regularly now, I think she knows she's just not going to realistically be able to do that right now at Tennessee. And so I think she finds it's kind of like Josh Heupel's first year in 2021 with Tennessee football. It was a bit of a waste of time for him to try to recruit too heavily for 2022, because you knew 2023 was going to be more of an important class, because the only thing he could really do was try to make a splash and sell himself the coach with the players he had or with the team he's dealing with. And I think that's Kim Caldwell's focus, and that's why she's going the transfer portal route right now.
It's really interesting, and you know, you kind of laid the groundwork from the standpoint of the certain fan base that has an idea of how things are supposed to be done. And one of those ideas as well is that, you know, Tennessee high school basketball is good enough for, if you get the right players from those ranks, for Tennessee to be competitive the way it wants to be competitive. And, you know, I'm not sure that her visibility in those ranks right now has been what folks would necessarily like to see. And I get what you're saying, that maybe this year with what Danny White has said is more important than subsequent years. But at the same time, at some point, you got to sign some high school kids, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can't build your program through the transfer portal every year. I mean, it's just like the NFL. I mean, I don't know how, or professional sports. You know, with the era of NIL, the transfer portal, it's great, but I don't know how many professional teams have won a championship building just around free agents. For instance, in the NFL,
the Rams, and that's it.
That's true.
only one that I know of, the Rams, and that was it.
That's true. Yeah. Like it, and so I agree. It's funny you bring that up, because there has been always this talk about high school basketball in Tennessee, particularly women. I mean, men's high school basketball is very good in the state of Tennessee, don't get me wrong, but particularly women's high school basketball has a strong history. And again, that goes back to the history of things like Title IX, for those who don't remember, when very few states embraced women's sports the way Tennessee was embracing women's sports all the way back to World War II. So when Title IX happened, very few schools had a recruiting base of high school talent to pick from the way Tennessee did in women's basketball. I think there is a contingency of fans that think it's still that way. And, you just kind of have to insist, guys, it's not that way anymore. I mean, it's recruiting Tennessee in women's high school basketball is not the same as like being head coach at Georgia in football and being able to recruit Georgia football. It's not the same advantage it used to be. And by the way, I mean, we don't even have to get into how Tennessee football fans make that mistake all the time. They just thought that Tennessee would just consistently be able to pluck kids out of Georgia and go win national championships. And that was not the case. I think it's the same with women's high school basketball. It doesn't stand out in Tennessee over the rest of the country the way it did 30 years ago. And I think that's what a lot of older Lady Vol fans really have to come to terms with, that it's just not what it was.
That said, when there is a standout high school basketball player, and I'm one of those older Lady Vol fans, by the way, full disclosure, but when you do have one of those game changers in your state, you got to get them. And, looking at Ryan Howard, you can't let a talent of that level get out of Tennessee if you are the University of Tennessee. I don't think. And I feel like that there are other players of that ilk in the high school ranks right now. And, again, I get the importance of 24-25, but I also know that 25-26 is coming. And I'm just hoping that we see some activity at the high school level that indicates that there's an awareness that Tennessee high school basketball exists.
Oh, yeah, I agree. When Ryan Howard was a very unique situation because that was, I think she committed to Kentucky right after Tennessee had its second round exit from the NCAA tournament. They kept Holly Warlick on for another year, and everybody knew she was a dead head coach walking. And it was just almost a really sad sight to see. So I don't think they would let that happen now. It was when Ryan Howard committed, it was really hard. I mean, how do you sell her when she commits in 2018 and everybody in the world knows Holly Warlick's going to be fired the next year? And so I think that was the issue. So yeah, I agree. They still have to get the talent within the state of Tennessee. Look, I think you guys know this. Y'all are in the mid-state. I'm from Memphis originally. It's weird, but in men's and women's high school sports, Tennessee produces much better in basketball than it does in football, which is odd to me, but it has a great history of producing in basketball. And you're right. You do have to get those players when they come along, and you can't let them out of the state. I just think that you can't rest on the laurels of just your state's high school basketball talent.
Sure. Absolutely. Caleb Calhoun of Off the Hook Sports joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia. Caleb, we appreciate your insight, man, and look forward to swinging back to you because I think that year one of the CKC reign is going to be worth keeping an eye on. So keep your phone on.
Oh, definitely. Will do. Thanks for having me, guys.
We appreciate it.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
That's right, guitars and fast cars right here in Music City. This summer, NASCAR is back at the Nashville Superspeedway. Get your tickets now to watch your favorite driver take on the 1.33 miles of concrete chaos. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to lock in your spot June 28th through the 30th for the Ally 400 race weekend.
Throwback Thursday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Just heard from CALAB Calhoun of Off the Hook Sports, talking a little UT women's basketball. And we are now joined by our NASCAR analyst, Heather Williams of WCYB TV out of Johnson City. We do not have Heather on video. We've got Heather on audio. We've got a picture of Heather up, looking quite nice as always. I thought we were going to get a lobster up of Heather coming out of New Hampshire, but maybe we can get a picture of Heather with a lobster at some point. But Christopher Bell got the lobster this weekend, winning up there. And Heather, how did that go? I know that we had decided that Denny Hamlin wasn't a fan, but was Chris any better with it?
Well, he certainly got more experience because he's won. I think he's raced in the Xfinity Series at New Hampshire 3 times and won all of them, and he swept the. He definitely is used to holding that lobster up. He certainly has experience with that lobster. And I mean, he was the class of the weekend. He had the best car definitely in the Cup Series, and he probably didn't have the best car in the Xfinity Series, but he was good enough to get it done in both races.
So they don't just give the lobster to the Cup winner; it's everybody. Everybody gets a lobster, huh? Heather, you still there? Mark, do we still have Heather?
Hold on, I've lost audio with. All right, I got you.
There we go.
Oh.
We can hear you, Heather.
Okay, I couldn't hear you. I don't know if you had asked me a question, but I couldn't hear you.
Can you hear us now? She can't.
Maybe it's just Maurice I can't hear.
Surely not. Producer Mark's got the magic
if you can
touch.
hear me, I'll just go ahead and I can just go ahead and keep talking about the interesting thing about New Hampshire was it was the first time in a complete, well, not the first time in a race, but the first time they didn't start the race on the wet tires, where they made the change in the middle of the race. So that was a really interesting test for the Cup Series, because they obviously knew what to do starting the race on wet tires, but there was a lot of, I guess, debate over whether or not NASCAR should be dictating whether they have to stay on those tires. Some people felt like they should let them get back on the slick tires after racing in the rain. the wet, not really the rain. So it was a really interesting kind of peek into what NASCAR's thinking and how they use these wet tires, because there's been a lot of question about that. And it's basically just to get the show in. They did no pit stops. They wouldn't allow people to make their decisions. This was just basically to get the race finished and to let them race on the track, but nothing else. So it was an interesting experiment.
Can you hear me now, Heather? She can't.
Not a member. Get the pen plate.
Wade, go ahead.
Heather, can you hear me?
I still can't hear you.
I think only producer Mark's got the magic touch. I don't know.
She has left the building.
She has left the building.
She's probably reconnecting.
Return shortly and get us back on, well, track.
Nice.
As you're right though, Mo, and she told us, and we'll maybe get into this too, but she said be on the lookout for everybody from Joe Gibbs Racing, and Christopher Bell proves everybody that listened to the show last week correct, because
I'm
he
back.
ends up she's back in. Can you hear us?
I can hear you now too.
There we go. That's awesome. Yeah.
Technology is amazing till it isn't.
When it works. Yeah. So Christopher Bell gets the win up at New Hampshire, followed by Chase Briscoe. Hendersonville's Josh Berry comes in third. Larson is fourth. Chris Buescher's fifth. You, as Wade was saying, I'm going to steal this one from him real quick. You know, you had kind of warned us about Joe Gibbs Racing, and Bell lives up to your fortune telling there.
Yeah, it's just a track that fits their style. I mean, they're, as I think I mentioned last week, they're so good on they're really good on all tracks, but particularly the shorter distance tracks, like Richmond, like Martinsville, those 3/4 to a mile track, and really half mile, because you can throw in Bristol and Martinsville in that too. And so as much as this is like Richmond, just a little bit longer, it just makes sense. They're the tracks that team is the best at. And you even look at the kind of drivers they recruit, because this week they announced that Martin Truex Jr. is going to be replaced by Chase Briscoe, who finished second this week. So, I mean, I just think that's the kind of drivers that they like, are the kind of drivers that excel on that kind of track.
Heather, as we get ready to crank up for Nashville, what does the track kind of situation, kind of keeping with our theme there? How does the track look? Who does that maybe favor? Does that favor anybody in particular, or a team in particular? Size up Nashville for us, if you would.
Well, Nashville's really a unique track. I mean, people always like to refer to the 1.5 miles, or Nashville's like 1 mile and three. My car's beeping. Mile and 3/8 track, but it's different than most 1.5 mile tracks. First of all, because it's concrete, so that makes it different. But also just because there's really no track like it on the circuit. It just races differently. It just feels different. The way the stands are, it's just really unique all the way around, which I love about Nashville, because it's not a cookie cutter track at all. And drivers really like it. The challenge of the concrete, I think they really love. And so guys that are good at Bristol or Dover, the other two concrete tracks, are probably going to be pretty good at Nashville. And then guys that are good at 1.5 miles usually are pretty good there too. So you're looking at, again, the Toyotas. I mean, we've seen Denny and Bubba, and specifically those two, but Christopher Bell would probably be pretty good there. I think you look at also the Chevys this week. Of course, Ross won last year, and Chase Elliott won 2 years ago. So I think when you're looking at what to expect this weekend, I think those are probably the two places you need to look, is the Toyotas and the Chevys.
You've got heading into this 19th race of the season, 4 racers have won 3 races each to this point: Bell, William Byron, Hamlin, and Larson. And I guess it kind of stands to reason that they're going to be right at the front, or you would expect them to challenge here this weekend.
Yeah, except for I don't think William Byron is running very well. And actually, Denny's not running that well either right now. I think more likely you would see Christopher Bell or Kyle Larson up front as opposed to Denny and William, just because those teams seem to be kind of working through some stuff right now. They're not really running as well as they could be, and I think that puts them at a disadvantage.
I don't know if this qualifies as their home track necessarily, but with Trackhouse being based out of Nashville, what are your thoughts regarding Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez coming into the weekend?
Well, Ross won last year, and so I think if you're looking for a place that you want some confidence on what's been kind of a mediocre for his team, especially year, because they expect to run better than what they're running, I think they probably have had Nashville circled on the schedule for weeks now as a place where they can get the ship sort of righted and get into the playoffs. I think they really probably would feel a lot comfortable if they did win, even though they're in pretty comfortably on points now. I think a win would really help them with their confidence heading into the playoffs. But I like Ross Chastain's chances just because he's proven he can get it done there.
What about Suarez?
Suarez, I don't know what's wrong with that team. They don't seem to be on the same page as Chastain's team. They don't have the consistency, and they seem to find a lot of trouble. Now, the good news for him is that he's already in the playoffs because he won in Atlanta, so he doesn't really need a win maybe as much as Chastain does to be comfortable in the playoff times. But I actually talked to Daniel a couple of weeks ago on Zoom for a Zoom interview, and they are a little bit concerned about their lack of consistency and just the ability to get good finishes and maybe finish as well as they've run during a race, because they know that they have to have those bonus points or those playoff points, and they're just not getting those for when the playoff starts. But I would say that they probably aren't going to be as much of a player this weekend as the one team, but I think they both have the ability to win this weekend.
Suarez has made 3 starts at Nashville, has never finished worse than 15th. So kind of likes the track, it seems.
Yeah, and if he can find that consistency, he's definitely capable, but there's something a little bit off on the 99 team this year. I'm not sure what it is.
Okay. Heather Williams of WCYB TV out of Johnson City joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, talking a little NASCAR. Obviously, Heather, you are in the car. Are you headed this way?
I am going to be there. I'll be there actually tomorrow night late, and I'll be at the track on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. All right.
Busy weekend. Heather, I got to ask you real quick before we get you out of here. It wouldn't be Nashville without country music being involved. Luke Combs is going to be your pace car driver, and Hardy will be your grand marshal. I got to ask the question, would you rather be the pace car driver or the grand marshal for a race?
Oh, gosh. I think I'd rather be the...
Before you answer that, Heather, I know what the pace car driver does. What does the grand marshal do?
They're the one that says, "Gentlemen, start your engines."
Oh, is there any question then?
Yeah, I would definitely think I would want to be the grand marshal.
Really?
Yeah.
No,
I've driven on the track before.
There you go.
Before. It's not, I don't know. It's not as exciting to me.
And there you go. That's the difference. See, I've never driven on the track before. I love driving fast.
Oh, Mo,
so,
we got to get that. We got to get you hooked up on that.
Oh, well.
I know a few people up at Nashville.
Well, good, because I don't. Yeah, that would be great. Hey, one other question. So you would rather be the grand marshal. Wade, what about you? Because I'd rather be the pace car driver.
I'm thinking I would, it's a catch-22, right? I'd like to do the race car to be the pace car driver, but you kind of could live in infamy if you deliver a big enough grand marshal. And that's our MTSU alum, Hardy, that's going to be doing that. And he brings a lot of energy. So presumably he might deliver kind of a viral type clip. I don't know. But I think I go with the car driving for me personally. Yeah.
I think so.
Well, Nashville's certainly known for the viral clips. The greatest NASCAR prayer of all time has to happen in Nashville.
But Nashville is known for going viral. So, yeah. Keep an eye on social media this weekend coming out of Gladeville. Heather, I saw something, I guess at some point yesterday as I was getting ready for this segment, such as it is. What is going on with Eric Almirola? And Bubba Wallace?
I just saw that report today, and I don't currently have a subscription to The Athletic, so I only know bits and pieces of it, what I got from other people. But apparently,
this took place a month ago.
Yeah, Eric's been suspended from JGR for about a month for getting in a physical altercation with Bubba, which apparently Eric started. That's why he's the one suspended. There's a little bit of history there, and I'm not sure what it is, but it seems to stem back maybe to their RPM days when Eric was injured and Bubba substituted for him, and then Bubba got the ride. But Eric got another ride. I mean, a good ride. But I just don't know if there's some history there that maybe people don't know about between the two of them, and not a lot of details other than the fact that they got into a physical altercation have surfaced yet. But it'll probably be the talk of Nashville this week. So if I hear anything, I will definitely pass it along to you guys next week.
We will be waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Heather, enjoy the weekend. I'm not sure if we're going to cross paths or not. I probably need to try to make a couple of phone calls, but if we don't catch you this weekend, we will catch you next week right here.
Sounds good. If you make it up to the track, let's chat.
You know we will. Absolutely. Heather Williams of WCYB TV out of Johnson City, our NASCAR analyst, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia. Heather, we appreciate you. Be safe.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank you, Heather.
When we come back to the Lee Company studios here, it's our final segment of the day. It's the grab bag. Stay tuned.
Are you the biggest race fan? Main Street Media and Rackley Roofing are teaming up to send a family of 4 to the Rackley Roofing 200 truck race at the Nashville Super Speedway on June 28th. All you have to do is head to your favorite Main Street Media site and click on the Rackley banner to win.
As we said, it is the final segment of Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We are in the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, and it is time for the grab bag. We will start at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, where last night's NBA draft took place, and I guess where round 2 is currently underway. Haven't checked in on it yet, but again, we discussed the draft yesterday and the Grizzlies going at number 9 and looking for a big man, and they got one, much to Wade's chagrin.
I thought it was a reach. I'm excited about the pick, and my good buddy and friend of the program, Vincent Love, we always got the saying, you know, we're always going to support the home team. And then as the night went on, Mo, I found myself kind of warming up to it more. This draft, I don't know that we talked about it with Teresa so much yesterday. I don't know that anybody really thinks they got a sure thing.
Mm-hmm.
So of all the drafts, this is maybe the one that you take a little bit of a reach with Edey at number 9. If they could have got him, you know, later in the first round, I think it would have been better. That was my kind of concern. But who knows? I mean, it seems like really a lot of teams, I don't think, feel great about what they got last night or don't even know what they got last night.
I think my concern with Edey for the Grizzlies is Memphis wants to run, right?
That's what everybody's telling you.
I mean, when you look at them with Ja Morant and everybody else on that roster, that's 94 feet. That's get up and down. Zach Edey is not that.
He's not that. But what let me sleep a little better at night is, man, I cannot wait. He may not be much of a rotation guy. He may not be, you know, an all-star by any stretch. But I'm just waiting for that one night where somebody comes around and there's Edey delivering a screen and somebody is going to get absolutely flattened.
Obliterated.
And Morant is going to deliver a highlight reel dunk, or Bane's going to kick it or drain a 3. And that's what kept me asleep last night peacefully, because He's big.
He is big.
And you got Jaren Jackson Jr., who's an elite defender. Edey's got some defensive concerns, so maybe JJ can mask some of that. But yeah, you're right. It feels like the Grizz want to run, and he's not really. He's in elite condition. This guy played like what did I read? Like 36 minutes a game last year for Purdue. I mean, he's in great shape, but he's not running at the level that probably you presume, that Memphis would want to run at.
You wouldn't think. I wouldn't think. So I'm interested to see how that goes. He had to wait a while to hear his name called, but Dalton Connect goes number 17 to the Lakers. And I don't know what that means.
I think it's a great pick for the Lakers, in my opinion. The only knock, and we kind of got into it a little bit with Teresa yesterday, the only knock on Dalton Connect is he's old. And, I was joking with some friends last night. It's going to be wild when him, LeBron, and Anthony Davis all retire together at the same age. But I think it's a great fit because he comes in with a lot of polish on him, even though the majority of that polish came just last season from Rick Barnes. But, man, you plug in a great shooter, you get him, you get Reeves out on the perimeter. This is like the one team that when they drafted, I was texting a friend, I was like, man, if they take Connect, this is like a A+ almost for me in my mind, and boom, they take him. And so for all the laughter.
And CBS Sports has it graded an A+.
I mean, for all the laughter about the Lakers and kind of some of their decision-making and the roster makeup and the coaching hire, obviously, this to me feels like a great pick for them. And talk about tremendous value. This is a guy, that there was talk a couple weeks ago would be in the top 3, and you get him at 17. You got to feel good if you're Rob Pelinka.
You got to feel good if you're Rob Pelinka. I'm not sure how you feel if you're Dalton Connect, because again, this was a guy who had been mentioned top 3, certainly top 10, going 17. I mean, at least he went last night. So, as expected, couple of players from France go at the top of the draft. Zachary Riziker?
Risache.
Oh, see,
he is French after all. Yeah, you got to throw the French in there.
My bad.
Teresa hit us with the extra pronunciation yesterday. Zach Risache.
Risache goes to the Hawks, followed by Alex Sarr to the Raptors. Reed Shepherd goes number 3 to the Rockets. Didn't necessarily see that coming.
Man, you listened to Jay Billis talk last night, and it was so funny to listen to him because you could tell he covers college ball more than he covers international ball, because he was just throwing out the buzzwords with the French guys, elite athleticism, could be a project, could be potential. And then when he got to Reed Shepherd, he was just heaping the praise. And Houston's going to be fun to watch. And I think this will be a pretty good fit. They already kind of were above expectations last year, and they added a nice piece last night at the number 3 spot.
Kentucky's Rob Dillingham went 8 to San Antonio, their second pick in the top 8. So they picked up shooting guard Stephon Castle from Connecticut at number 4 and Dillingham at number 8. So they're looking like they think they're kind of set in the backcourt there with those two guys. But, as we talk going into this draft, Wade, not a whole lot of names that you're especially familiar with. Terrence Shannon going to the Timberwolves at 27th, the kid out of Illinois.
But, and, if not for his legal situation, listening to the analyst last night, I mean, this is a guy that was right there with Zach Edey probably for National Player of the Year kind of before he fell into that weird situation. So talk about value. You're getting a guy that was maybe a top 5 pick coming into the season, and he falls all the way down to 27.
Right.
So there were some teams. Timberwolves had a sneaky draft. They got him. And this is a T-Wolves team that coming in, you're thinking, okay, they got some nice pieces. They obviously had a great little postseason run. I'd be real fascinated to see what their roster looks like next year.
Well, they just, at number 37, just took Bobby Clintman a power forward from Sweden, 6'9", 212. So, elite athleticism.
Yeah, unless you're a Fran Fraschilla or Givoni for ESPN, nobody really has a clue. Those are only two guys that you can really trust.
Yeah.
And Mo, we were robbed. We were absolutely robbed last night. Pick number 30. If the Celtics had taken Bronny James, the internet would have exploded, and it would have been the all-time greatest troll move / I mean, you could take him and basically hold him hostage in a sense.
You want
right?
him, you can trade for him. Yep.
If you want him, you can trade for him. If not,
and
he's
I'm
just gonna hang
wondering
here.
It's. I guess it was you that was asking, does somebody take him ahead of the Lakers, and just kind of pull that? The Lakers picking at 55.
Obviously you probably don't want to burn a first round pick on him in terms of contract guaranteed at that point, but
second
the
round,
Celtics of all the teams, it seems like they're pretty much set. It would have been a classic move. I mean, it would have been the stuff of movies if they had picked him at number 30, and it's like, hey, LeBron, you want him? Trade for him or come join us. You got two choices.
Okay, so in that, this is the level of petty to which I aspire. I just told you that the Lakers picked 55th. To your line of thinking, Mr. Neely, guess who's at 54?
They're right there in front of them.
Right there.
And it still holds the same sentiment, but man, to close out night one, right there at the end, we'd have had a full day of content. It'd have been leading every single show on the planet today. If it's not to the Lakers, it doesn't feel like he'll get drafted today, which, as we've talked about, is not necessarily the end of the world. He'll latch on with somebody.
Absolutely.
At least a camp invite or a summer league invite.
Former Alcoa star, current NFL veteran receiver Randall Cobb and his family got a scare over in Green Hills a couple of nights ago when the Tesla charger inside their garage caught fire and created a house fire that they and their 3 kids and their dog got out with the clothes on their backs. We're lucky to be alive, said Cobb's wife Ada on IG. The Tesla charger caught on fire in the garage late last night and quickly spread. We got out of the house with nothing but the clothes on our back and no shoes on our feet. I'll explain more later, but posting this in case I miss any appointments, calls, texts, meetings. Thank you, God. Cobb ran back into the house to save their dog, Louie. That's scary.
Scary, but for a sure-handed receiver, he did what he needed to do, and he got Louis out of there. Yes, that's a tragic situation, horrific situation, obviously. And just thankfully, at the end of the day, if all you lose is kind of material possessions, that's obviously the most important thing.
Absolutely. I mean, if that's all you lose, then you're ahead of the game. But my goodness, I just cannot imagine that type of loss. And I mean, it happens far too often, unfortunately, but I just cannot imagine going through that type of loss again. At least they're getting to go through it, but that's just harrowing to think about.
This is after a couple months ago, Tyreek Hill's house caught on fire too. This scary stuff, man. Every now and again, these stories pop up, and man, it just totally puts things through a different prism or a different lens.
Unfortunately, we don't know how much, if anything, will be salvageable, but this has been a reminder that nothing is more important than the health of our family. We are grateful for our incredible community in Nashville and the support from our close friends that have given us a temporary roof over our heads and shoulders to lean on. Cobb, 13-year NFL vet, currently a free agent, spent the past season with your New York Jets. previously with the Cowboys, Texans, and obviously the Packers. So, again, wishing them the best as they deal with this horrific situation, but clearly could have been so much worse.
Mm-hmm.
We did not get to this earlier, but the NCAA is considering expanding to 72 and possibly 76 teams for March Madness for the 25-26 season. So it would be additional play-in games, and there would be at least one more first four site in addition to Dayton were this to take place. I mean, it feels inevitable just for the money that it would generate.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a little old school. Why you got to mess with it? It's been at 60. Well, it went to 64 teams in 1985. They added one play-in game in 01, and then they went to 68 teams in 2011. So creating 4 play-in games at that point, 4 of the first 4 games. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, like you said, it feels inevitable. Feels like a money grab. But I can't say I'm surprised. I mean, it just feels like we're increasingly streaking toward, college football is expanding. Why not the NCAA tournament? The funny thing about all this is, we already argue over the teams that the few that do get left out. So we're just looking at arguing over who's the 77th best team.
Right.
It seems like in this scenario.
Yeah, and wow, I feel like, and we've talked about the 12-team playoff. I think that's going to be great. I think going from 4 to 12, I think obviously less teams are going to have an argument about being left out at that point. But if you're going to 72 or to 76 teams, and the result of that is going to be, 14 of 16 SEC teams getting in, and still only one Atlantic Sun team or only one, Ohio Valley team or whatever, then I don't know what you've solved.
Yeah, and that is a great point there. I mean, we're not talking about getting in a couple more A-Sun teams, unfortunately. If we were, that'd be real fun. It'd be really, really cool. But you know how this story plays out. It's going to be the big schools that gobble these up.
Absolutely. Earlier this week, the NCAA removed cannabinoids from its list of banned drugs that they will be testing for championships and for postseason football, beginning with the upcoming school year. In 2014, Michigan's Mitch McGary was suspended for the entire 2014-15 season due to a positive marijuana test in the 2014 tournament.
He said, "See ya."
Yeah, I don't know how often really it's been an issue since, but it won't be an issue going forward, apparently. So, smoke them if you got them. I don't know. Fridays, Main Street Sports Today, we will be joined by Garrett Stallings, former Tennessee pitcher, now with the Nashville Sounds, and Blair Shabilla as we talk a little Nashville Soccer Club. They got a big matchup against Inter Miami coming up this weekend. So come back tomorrow at 2 o'clock to the Lee Company Studios. This is Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We will see you tomorrow.